Hello all, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. I hope you are having a fabulous day. Today I'll be sharing with you monthly recommendations for the month of May. If you don't know, Monthly Recommendations is a monthly recommendations group created by Trina at Between Chapters and Kayla from Kayla Rain. I will, of course, leave the Goodreads group down below as well as both their channels. They are lovely. I love doing monthly recommendations videos, so I'm just gonna hop on into it. Like I said, this topic is friendships, so I'm highlighting my favorite groups or best friend duos or just any relationships that lean to the friendship side and not to the family side or the relationship side. I'm really excited for this because friendships are some of the greatest things to read in books. First, I'm gonna go with an obvious one, and that is Harry Potter. I'm going with the third book, specifically, randomly enough, because while I love the trio, and the trio is like friendship goals and they're the best, I'm specifically wanting to talk more about the Marauders. I love the Marauders and their friendship and their collective everything. I just love them so much. I love Sirius. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. I, of course, love James and Lily, and obviously, you know, they have some issues with the Wormtail thing, and I love Lupin, but I just love their dynamic, and it's just so very interesting, and I want J.K. Rowling to write a Marauders era story so bad. It's literally the thing I want most in a book ever. The only time I've ever read fan fiction in my life was to read Marauders era fan fiction because I need more of them in my life, and I love the trio too. The Harry Potter friendships are just something of beautiful goals. There's also friendships that develop later on besides the trio that I love, like Luna and Neville and everyone coming into the trio's group. And I just love the friendships and the way J.K. Rowling writes about friendships, and not just the good things, but like the parts of friendship that are tricky and hard. Next up is another super obvious one, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I just posted a video about meeting Maggie Stiefvater and my experience at that event, so my copy is signed and personalized, and it is my new prized possession because this is one of my favorite books of all time. And if you haven't seen that video, you should definitely check it out because I'm giving away a signed book hugger, which is it's just a piece of art that Maggie drew and then signed. But if you're interested in that, go ahead and check out that video. I will link it above. It was just so good. And the friendships in it are what make this book so good, and the characters in this are what makes the book so good. These are characters that are so different and have so many conflicting personalities that you wouldn't think they'd be friends, but because they have this thing that connects them, this thing that they want, this purpose that drives them forward, they become the best of friends, and their dynamic is something that I also like a lot. They bicker a lot, they have great banter. I love Noah and Adam and Gansey and Ronan and Blue. I specifically like her dynamic in this group of boys. They are the kinds of friends that would do so much for each other, and they just, I love them. So if you haven't read these books, I highly recommend them, especially if you're interested in a good and unique friendship story, because really that's like why you'd read this book. The story is great, the plot is awesome, but it's the characters and their friendships that make this book so a cut above the rest. Next up, I'm going with a classic children's story, and that is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I love Charlotte's Web. This was one of my favorite childhood books growing up, and this book is the first book I think that ever made me cry. It's just so good, but the friendship dynamic is so important in this book, and I think it shaped how I feel about friendships and what makes a good friendship. This was one of those like very influential books in my life, and I just am so appreciative of it. And next up is another book I don't own, but I really, really want to because I love this author so much, and that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I love these books. I think they're one of my favorite dystopian series, probably my favorite, tied with The Hunger Games. I just love them so much, and I want them to be movies so badly. But I love the friendship dynamic in The Darkest Minds. I absolutely love the characters Ruby and Zoo and Liam and Chubbs, and later we get more characters that are introduced that just play off these main group's dynamic as well, very well. But the original friend group is so great, and they are in this dystopian and hard world, but they are in the first book going essentially through a road trip, and the way they just like get along and bicker and like react to each other being in a confined, closed compartment is really enjoyable to read about. And it's nice to see them act like kids, even though they're in this really hard and weird world that doesn't really let them act like kids. I absolutely love the story. If you don't know, The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken is a dystopian story about a society in which there's a disease basically that the children contract. It only affects children at a certain age. Either the children will die, it's fatal, or they contract these like superpowers essentially. And then the government becomes really scared of these children with these powers and essentially ship them off to concentration camps. And Alexandra Bracken shines with novellas, so I highly recommend reading these books and reading the novellas that accompany them because those novellas are pieces of art. Next up, we have the Fire and Thorns trilogy by Rae Carson. I absolutely love this trilogy. I've done a trilogy review on it, so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on this series, I will link it above for you. I'm not going to get into what it's about too much, but it is a fantasy in which our main character is thrust into a new environment in which she has to be married off to a king, essentially, and take on this new political role that she doesn't think she's apt to do well. She is overweight and self-conscious and a wonderful main character. And I love her friendship that progresses with Mara. Mara is the sweetest, and I really like how like serious and like open they are with each other. They talk about anything and everything. Their honesty and how true their friendship is. I just think they're a great girl duo, and I just love them. And they love each other, and I love that. So. Next up, we have a graphic novel comic series, and that is Espeon Debt, written by Paul Tobin and illustrated by Colleen Coover. This has 2 trades out right now, and the 3rd one is coming out soon-ish. This is a digital webcomic that is released every so often in a printed format. Tobin and Coover are actually married, so this is kind of like their pet project, and I absolutely love it. It follows Bandette, a French girl who steals things. She steals things for good reason. She steals them from people who are going to steal them for worse things. So she's kind of like this superhero thief thing, and it's really cute. She has the greatest personality. She's so positive. She's a great female character. I would absolutely recommend this to anyone who wants to read just about a cute, great female character. And she's just absolutely the funnest thing ever. And I love her friends because they always will come to her rescue when they need her, whether she tells them that she needs their help or not. And they're just always there and always around. And it's not just like one friendship. It's just like this slew of people that's not necessarily just like her posse or her like superhero sidekicks or anything. These are genuinely her friends, and I love that. I just love that she doesn't need like a group of people to help her because they're her posse or they're her sidekicks. She just needs them because they're her friends. One of my favorite graphic novels stories of all time. Highly recommend. Please check it out. And it is, like I said, a digital comic, so you can get this online. You don't have to wait for the trades to come out. I also wanted to talk about another book I don't own, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is a book that I absolutely love because it tackles friendship in a very different way. It's friends that accept you for who you are. They don't need you to conform to them. They also are bringing Charlie out of his comfort zone, and I just love the dynamic between Sam and Patrick and Charlie. I think they have a very unique and interesting dynamic. They really help Charlie just kind of come into his own, and that's just like what you want in a friendship. I just love the way they accept Charlie. And that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I probably missed some good ones, so go ahead and leave your favorite character duos or friendships in the comments down below. I would love to chat and see which ones I definitely forgot, because I know I forgot some good ones. That is all for today, so go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!